Ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday, so you know what that means. That means the United States starting 11 or thereabouts has Terry Minkler and Kevin Whalen up on the airwaves. Well,
Ready to roll, Kevin?
every Friday is a new Friday. I'm ready.
All right, but you know what? What's always the same, Kevin? Whether it's Friday or Monday or Tuesday, whatever it is, that select ball, it's always the same, isn't it?
Oh, you know it, Brad. You know it. I've been told it really, you don't have to air it up all the time because it doesn't go flat. It doesn't have no square edges on it to, puncture it. It's nice and round and it stays filled. And I tell you, I would have had a master's degree by now if I had uh, Nagel College Planning or Coolidge.com. I'll tell you that.
I
That
listened to Eddie O. Yesterday's podcast. Did a great job. Made some great presentations that people need to pay attention to. He hit on a lot of really good topics. It was a well done report.
not to put you behind the eight ball, but that was the best. I mean, how he got those 5 points in. I mean, that says it right then and there.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
wow. If you don't prepare to fail.
right,
And
exactly.
and the whole idea was that what is your picture, man? Are you zoomed in? Step back, wide open, wide the shot. Uh,
I like how you attack the anxiety factor and the fear. You got to get that out of the way. Don't let that be the cause for your actions.
yeah,
Got to get on top of that.
from morning, noon, and night, man, it stays with you. You just can't snap it on and off.
Yeah.
So he really had it going on. And under full disclosure, ladies and gentlemen, uh, since the days of the '70s, uh, late mid '70s, you've been talking the same type of talk, Terry. Nice going.
Okay. Hey, listen, I want to go back Monday and emphasize Dave Ehrenberg's point about Maddie DiMaria not only being the National Gatorade Player of the Year, but being the ESPYS Female Athlete of the Year. That's quite an incredible honor for her. That was good of Dave to present that information, and a lot of us probably didn't know about that.
Right on. I mean, say for instance, is it possible? It might pop the balloon that one of the the stair the steps to get it was whale certifying her Maddie when she was a freshman, and from there she walked into fame.
Well, she did it in a way that not many people do. That's for sure.
Oh
You don't come
man.
in as established as she was at the time, and just build on that. Sometimes that's the end of it. People when they're that good that early, that's as good as they're ever going to be. But that was just her beginning. That was her stepping stone. She kept on building on that, and that's when you've got greatness. When you
Yeah.
build on, really, when you're already good and you build on that and get better and better and better, and that's what it takes. That's the 1% that we keep talking about all the time.
Yeah.
We got a lot of people that are good, but everybody isn't that good in that way. And she really separated herself and gave everybody a model for what it really looks like.
I mean, really, just for watching her one time, you people from that time knew right away. Wow, are we in for a show here, boy?
Well, you know what that level of player does that makes them stand out is how easy they make everything look. They're doing the
Yeah,
same thing. Everybody else is doing the same thing, but most people are struggling to do it. And that level, what Maddie does it, she does it at ease. You think she probably could do it blindfold if she's that good at doing it.
I bet she did. I bet,
Yeah.
yeah, I bet that was like a DiMaria challenge. Can you do it
Yeah.
blindfolded? Yeah, man.
Could be.
Wow, I would have loved to have been in the backyard just to
Yeah.
watch them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those would have been some sessions, wouldn't they? I mean, my gosh, mom and dad and brothers and sisters, 6 people all together of high soccer quality. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah. Well, yeah. When they say, "Hey, you want to come in for a pickup game?" No.
You're playing in that group of 3-on-3. You better be the neutral. If you're
Oh,
the odd player in. You're the seventh player. You're the neutral.
oh
That way,
man.
just don't screw it up for whoever you're helping. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
but I mean the Epsies, you know,
Yeah.
and it's international. Well, the sky's the limit. There is no
Yeah.
limit.
Right. Right. That's the ceiling as far as I know right now. So
Yeah,
she's reached the ceiling already. This early young age, she's already reached the ceiling. Incredible.
yeah,
All right, and you wish her well because she just seems to be such a great person, all-around person, as
correct.
well as an outstanding athlete. So,
Yeah,
yeah, and credit to the family, to the parents for developing and producing and nurturing a person of that quality. Yeah,
oh man, yeah. And it's everybody, the whole school and community. It's everybody. It lifted all
yeah,
boats.
yeah. All right, ready to roll?
Well, I'm rolling like a select ball. I haven't lost any air.
I don't think I got any rough square edges, so I think I'm ready to go with you.
All right, then.
I'm ready to roll into this Friday with you. All right, Kevin, I've been World Cupping it since it started in June. I think I got one more today to do to wrap up the World Cup, and it won't be the whole World Cup thing, but it will kind of be an initial uh, point, and then some spin-offs that might reference back. But anyway, here we go. So during the World Cup, I was always keeping track of the value, the market value, the financial value of the teams based on their starting lineups. And I also was keeping track of the population of the country. And at the end of the World Cup, I wanted to look at those numbers and see if they made any sense. And I think to some extent they did. So I want to talk a little bit about that to start with. So in terms of the market value, the top 10 countries of the highest value, which started with France at a value of $860 million for their starting lineup, down to the number 10th position, which was Morocco at 338 million. Those were the top 10, top to bottom in the top 10. 6 of those advanced into the round of 8. 4 of those, France, Spain, England, and Argentina, were the final 4. So it seemed that the further the team went in the tournament, the more the money made a point. The bottom 10, just to give you a contrast, the very bottom one was Iraq at 6.1 million versus France of 860 million. So that was a discrepancy there. In the bottom 10, only Cape Verde, with a number of 7.9 million, made any kind of a splash. And as we know, they did quite well. Didn't lose a game in the pool play, had ties, and then got into the knockout round and took Argentina to a late game, and I think it was a 3-2 score. So the money prevailed there. In terms of the population, this was kind of interesting because the top 4 countries of high population ranked the U.S. number 1 with 342 million people. Brazil was 2 at 213, and Mexico and Egypt were 3rd and 4th. None of those made a splash. So it was the money made a splash, but the population didn't. The final 4 with Spain, Argentina, England, and France had populations of 46 million to 69 million, a far cry from what we saw the numbers for the top four. So where money had value in terms of ability and performance, population didn't. So it seems that when you take countries that have populations in the 100 millions, like U.S., Brazil, Mexico, and Egypt, that alone wasn't enough to produce quality that was needed to get the advance in the tournament. You have Spain and Argentina, England, and France, and the highest of those was France at 69 million, and they finished fourth out of that bunch. Spain was one at 49, and Argentina was two at 46. So if population size isn't an issue, then what is? So what do you do with less people? Croatia has like 3 million. Uruguay has about 3. Norway had like 5.5 million people. And these are all, soccer recognized countries on a regular basis without having tons of people to choose from. So it has to come down to the system that's in place, the culture that's available, and just the history of those teams in the area of soccer, because they've been constantly producing good quality teams for years and years and years without having a lot of people to choose from. One of the arguments for the U.S. is, well, we don't have our best athletes playing soccer. But you look at the teams that win in soccer. Look at Spain and Argentina and France and England. They don't have the athletes that in terms of what we would consider our best athletes to be. The players that those countries have, they probably wouldn't qualify as our best athletes, but they're the best soccer players, right? So a soccer player is a different kind of creature in terms of physical size than what athletes would be for football and basketball. All right, but it's more than just that. It's so much more than that, and I think we get caught up with that physicality, size, speed, strength, power, and all that. Where in the European and South American countries, I think they get caught up much more in the thinking process of the game, the rhythm of the game, the touch of the ball, and the sequence of play, the combination play, where it's individual skills, but it's blended in a collective manner. And I think we look at individual skills over collective manner, thinking that, we got enough big-time athletes that might be enough to prevail. But, soccer in its essence is a game of moments. And moments are usually determined by reaction, by recognition and response. Can you recognize the moment for what it is, and can you respond appropriately? And that's a cognitive aspect and a competence aspect. It's a thought process and an action. And I think we need to realize that it's not bigger, stronger, faster that it makes a difference at the end of the day at the highest level. So that's my first point. Second point, saying that in the U.S., for instance, had a value of 218 for $1 million of transfer value market figure. And in our pool, the teams we beat and in knockout teams we beat all had values of under 100. And the teams we lost to, Turkey had a higher value than us, over 300, but Belgium had a lower value, 174. So if we follow the numbers, according to the numbers, we should have had a better game against Belgium than we did. All right, point number 2 is that we seem to get stuck in that round of 16. And we've been stuck in it since 2002, right? 2002. And that's 6 World Cups now. And the point is, if you're always stuck at the same point, I guess that's better than regressing. But what is it going to take to advance and to move past that? And I think the problem for me is if you keep doing the same thing in the same way and keep getting the same results, I think it's time to change something. And that's where we're at. We're doing the same thing to get the same results. After every World Cup, there's the same usual discussion about what needs to improve and, why we didn't do better, why we didn't advance, and what it's going to take to do better the next time. And it seems like all we keep doing is taking this, using the same criteria and using the same qualities and try to improve those. But it's proven over time that those qualities haven't been enough for us to advance. To give you an example, the African countries in this World Cup, 10 African countries uh, qualified for the World Cup. 9 of those 10 made it into the second round, made it into the knockout rounds. So that's a tremendous improvement. And of those 9, 2 of them made it into the round of 16 and 1 made it into the round of 8. So the point here is that even though we kind of think we're improving, which we are, okay, there's no doubt about that we're not improving, even though it doesn't reflect itself in the advancement past round 16. Quality of our play has gotten a lot better. But here's the problem. While we're worrying about ourselves, we also need to worry about the rest of the world that's catching up, closing the gap, and even maybe surpassing, right? Let's take Morocco, for instance. In 2002, Morocco did not even qualify for the World Cup. In 2002, we had our best World Cup effort. We won the round of 16 over Mexico 1-0 and lost in the round of 8 to Germany 1-0. We were 1 game away from being in the round of 4. That was 2002. Morocco, same year, didn't qualify at all. Fast forward to 2022, fast forward 20 years, and Morocco, who did not qualify in 2002, finished 4th in 2022. We are still back in the round of 16 20 years later. Go this year, 2026, 4 more years forward. Morocco fails out in the round of 8, and we get knocked out again in the round of 16. So as I said a minute ago, we're focused primarily on moving ourselves forward, but that's only half the equation, because you also have to be concerned about what the rest of the competition is doing. If we're improving X amount and somebody else is improving X plus 1, then they're improving better than we are. And for Morocco not to have qualified in 2002 and then to finish 4th 20 years later, and then come back this year and be in the round of 8, that's incredible. With 10 African countries in the World Cup this year, 9 of them getting out of the pool play, getting in the knockout round. You can imagine that the next World Cup 4 years from now, that those numbers might continue to increase. So we need to pay attention to that. I think that's something that's been overlooked and hasn't really been taken into account. Is we worry about what we got to do to improve ourselves, but at the other side of the coin, we got to worry about the competition as well. Can't neglect the competition. Okay. So my next point is going to be, I don't think I got 5, Kevin, other than the fact that I think they just kind of run into each other a little bit, is that one of the things that I've been focused on for quite a while, but more recently as well, is the concept of the TOVO approach, TOVO. It's a Dutch-Spanish model created by Johan Cruyff back in the day, and continued on with Todd Dean, who is Cruyff's son-in-law. And TOVO is an abbreviation for the Dutch word total voetbal, which is total soccer. And there's 2 main concepts in this TOVO that I think is really important, and I think we could probably benefit to pay attention to a little bit. The TOVO is focused on a concept of 3 C's. C as in the word cat. The first C is called cognition. And cognition is the intelligent piece in the equation. It's the decision making. It's the assessing of all the things in the surrounding area and coming up with a picture of what's going on around you. The second C is competence. That's the successful execution of the skill. And the third C is character. And character is the reaction that we get after the course of action. So you have cognition, the thought process involved, comp- competence, the execution of the action, and then character, the reaction to it. And I think all of their training, all their team training, from the earliest days of the young kids all the way through the ranks, focus on those three aspects. So when they do a passing activity, it's not a static two-player back and forth pass because there's no cognition involved in that. There's very little character involved in that. There's competence because you're just passing back and forth, but you're doing it in an isolated way rather than a combined way. So passing can be done in a 4 versus 1 rondo, where you do have a little bit of pressure, and that's where the cognitive part comes in, because you have to think about what are you going to do if you get the ball under pressure. How are you going to get out of that? First, you have to be aware that you're under pressure. Then you have to come up with a solution. And then the competence is being able to execute under that pressure. And then the character is, if it don't go well, keep your focus, don't overreact, and be ready to play again. The second point of Tovo, which I find to be very important, is they have 3 conditions where they use the word manage. And the first one is to manage space. They're very, very big on the concept of space. And from Tobo, we know that they use the concept of find and exploit space. In essence, the game is all about creating space when you have the ball and closing space down when you don't. It gets to be that bottom line simple. So first is to manage space. Second is to manage yourself. That's the character again. And the third is to manage the ball. So in essence, it's the same kind of thing as the 3 C's, because managing space is they have an awareness of what's going on, and that fits into the cognitive thing of assessing. And the second one then is managing self. That's the character. And the third one, managing the ball, that's the competence. So it's kind of the same thing in 2 different ways. But the idea behind it is that it gives you a better opportunity to play the game in a more successful way, because there's constant interchange of ideas, a bottom line basis of understanding of what's going on and what should go on. And there's constant support. The cognition thing lends itself to, how can I help? What's the situation? Where's help needed? How can I be of help? Competence then is to be useful and successful in transferring the ball in one way or another, dribble, pass, or shot, successfully. And then the character is to stay focused. And you notice that Spain in their game, especially against Argentina, when Argentina really tried to rattle them, is that they stayed composed, they stayed focused. They really didn't allow the intimidation and the provoking to get them off their game. So I think there's some very, very valuable lessons there to take out of that. And so I think, in review, I talked about the number 1 point was the money value and the population. And I think the correlation there is population. And, in our school systems, we have the large school, small school syndromes. So it's really not absolute that the big schools are always going to beat up on the small schools, because you're going to have a good group of people and good situation in the smaller schools that can compete with the bigger schools. So size does matter, but it's not an absolute. Okay, size is not the absolute. The money in the high school situation doesn't really matter, because everybody is able to play because they attend a certain school. But the money is a factor outside the high school and the club situation. Money is a big factor. It's pay to play is always a big factor, and it kind of limits and excludes those that can't come up with the money. There's so many stories of world-class players that if they had to pay to play to develop, they would have never been players they were, because they couldn't have afforded it. So anyway, those are my points, Kevin. And I think the big thing is, as we look forward to keep improving our game, we need to pay attention to who's coming up behind us, who's closing the gap. And so we got to continue to improve ourselves and stay ahead of the curve so that people don't come up behind us and tap us on the shoulder as they're passing us by. That's my point, Kev.
Wow.
Thanks.
Yeah. I'd like to dedicate this session to Mohammed, the doorman at Terry's place. That this guy, he was from Morocco, and he
Yeah,
since went back home. And man, it would have been really something to talk to him about what how Morocco got to fourth place.
that's a good point. Yeah, good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Okay, well, hey, I gotta say, don't be scared of having some soccer IQ, man. Soccer education. You can come and get it all you want, 5 days a week, at around the morning time, uh, at the United States High School Champions League, starting 11 or thereabouts. So the best of the best. So long, Terry.
Thanks, Kevin. Have a good weekend.